try and reclaim some scrap of dignity from the crowd that had already dismissed her. She lifted the folder and said she had proof she was being harassed online, that people were making threats, and that I was behind it. I didn't laugh, but I wanted to. I haven't posted a single word about you, I said. I don't need to. Your actions posted themselves. She opened the folder, but Clay had already stepped forward, hand on his radio. Ma'am, he said, I'm going to ask you one time to leave the property. You're already in violation, and I'm happy to turn that into an arrest if you'd like. Jenna's jaw worked in silence for a moment, eyes darting from Clay to me to the guests who were now openly watching like it was a showdown on the 4th of July. She dropped the folder on the gravel and turned back to the car. But before she got in, she did what I expected. She screamed. It wasn't a wordless cry this time. It was venom. She shouted about betrayal, about lies, about how I had used her, and twisted the story. How she was the victim and always had been. But no one bought it. Not anymore. Her voice cracked halfway through, not from pain, but from realizing it didn't matter who heard her anymore. No one believed it. Clay walked toward her, slow but firm, and she finally climbed into the car and drove off, tires spitting gravel like a toddler flinging sand in a playground tantrum. I waited until the dust settled before picking up the folder. Inside were printed screenshots of angry messages, random online posts, maybe 2 or 3 that looked like threats, none from me, none connected to me. A final attempt to flip the story, to make herself the target again. I handed it to Clay without a word. He flipped through it, then tucked it under his arm. Desperate people make desperate moves, he said. But that doesn't mean they get another chance. The rest of the night moved on, slowly at first, but then laughter returned, stories picked up again, and the fire pit glowed bright enough to warm the cold Jenna had left behind. Later, after the guests were gone and the embers burned low, Ricky and I sat on the porch sipping beer, watching the stars blink open like old secrets. You think that was her last swing? He asked. I thought about it for a long moment before answering. No, I said. But it's the last one anyone will hear. The next day, I filed another report with the court, and within 48 hours, Jenna was arrested for violating the restraining order. Her bail was set higher than she could pay. I didn't smile when I heard. I didn't feel satisfaction. Just silence. The kind that meant it was finally over. Really over. No more signs. No more schemes. No more sedans idling at the edge of peace. Over the weeks that followed, the ranch found its rhythm again. The cattle moved like clockwork across the pasture. The fences held. The water flowed. I hired a new ranch hand to help with the fall prep and brought on a young vet student from the county college to work weekends. Life didn't just return to normal, it returned better. Lighter. People came by more often, not to ask questions or offer sympathy, but just to visit. The story had traveled farther than I ever intended, and strangers wrote letters, some sharing their own battles with liars and manipulators, others just saying they were rooting for the little guy who fought back. I never saw myself that way. I was just a man who saw something worth protecting and didn't back down when someone tried to steal it. But maybe that's all it takes to inspire people now and then. One morning, as I walked along the fence line, the sunrise streaking across the hills like gold spilled by accident, I paused at the spot where she'd once hammered that auction property sign. The ground was bare now, the hole where the post had been filled in, packed tight, grass beginning to push through like nature trying to forget. I stood there a while, thinking about all the ways this story could have ended, how close I'd come to losing it all, not just the land, but the trust in people, in my own judgment, in the quiet peace I'd always taken for granted. But instead I was still here. The land still mine. The story now complete. And before I turned back toward the barn, I leaned down, pressed my hand to the soil, and whispered just loud enough for the wind to carry it. Not for sale. Then I smiled, not out of revenge, but relief. Because sometimes the best ending is simply knowing you kept what mattered. And nothing, no scream, no signature, no scheme in the world, could ever take that away again.